Among beloved JRPGs, it's no mistake that Xenoblade found its way into people's hearts. From the long effort by fans to get the game localized outside of Japan, to the fact that by some miracle Nintendo allowed the team to continue working on it and produce multiple sequels despite somewhat mediocre sales, and even compounded by that with the developers pushing the consoles to their absolute limits. Monolithsoft is regarded as one of the industry's greatest JRPG developers today. And maybe just developers in general, they assist on a lot of major titles. And this year marks the 4th year since the release of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the last mainline installment in the franchise. Given the incredible speed in which Monolith seems to turn out high-quality games, the fact that Xenoblade 3 seemed to spell the end of a trilogy, and also with the release of the Switch 2, people have been talking about what's next for Monolithsoft and the Xenoblade IP.
That's why it takes so much freaking work.
The elephant in the room is Switch 2 editions for all 3 Xenoblade games that have released on the Switch. We just got Xenoblade X's Enhanced Edition that basically just gave better performance to the game, and that's kind of what it needed. But a lot of people, myself included, are waiting for either a performance patch or enhanced editions of Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. All of these games have several performance issues, especially when running under more intensive situations, and being able to play the game at a smooth 1080p 60 FPS would be a great joy. There is a little evidence potentially pointing to Xenoblade 2 getting some form of enhancement, but outside of that small piece of potential, we've seen almost nothing from the company regarding enhanced editions of these games.
What Noah possibly think? Riku mustered up some big fancy lie?
The first thought that comes to mind with what Monolithsoft could be working on that would be considered new is the rumored codename Legacy. This rumor comes from now retired due to interesting circumstances, leaker Midori, who tweeted that Monolithsoft was working on a project called Legacy. Codenames are nothing new, most companies use them to dampen potential leaks among other reasons. Things like deciding a title and whatnot, those things will come later. But this is more of a nothing burger leak because I could say something like Nintendo is working on a game codenamed Sausage Monster, and then when a game appears, since I didn't say any specifics about the game, I could just say, yup, that's Sausage Monster, and that's not true. You know, the problem with a codename leak with no information is that it doesn't give you anything. There's no useful information to drown up from there. So essentially what I'm trying to say is,
whoa, this is worthless.
There are a few routes it could take, something related to Monolith's legacy, such as Xenosaga or Xenogears. It could be related to Xenoblade with another game that takes place in the existing universe of 1 through 3, or it could be an entirely new IP that themes around Legacy. Or it could just not be related to the word at all. Sometimes you just have random words for code names. My point is that this could mean anything and could be anything. Taking this kind of leak with any value is pointless. In short, what I can say is that it's entirely possible Monolith is working on a new IP, especially with several job listings pointing to some developers working on a game that hasn't been released yet. But it's impossible to say what that game might be. Some of these posts list action game as a description, but that kind of means nothing because action is such a broad category. You could take it as, oh, it's going to be a real-time action game, but that's not what it just says action game, which can be anything. That's all I'm saying.
But now, smoldering Kamaravi takes the field.
Just throwing this in here, I didn't actually put it in the script, but I've heard people talk about the potential of a Xenoblade Warriors game. And the only reason I'm shooting this down is because Xenoblade statistically does not sell incredibly well. So a spin-off of Xenoblade would be expected and projected to sell less, which I think just doesn't make sense to do a Warrior spin-off. As much as I would like one that maybe combines the worlds of 1, 2, and 3, you know, in some fun way, whether it's in the canon or out of the canon, who cares? But, I mean, in the canon would probably sell better. Whatever. My thing is just that I don't think the series has room for that right now. Again, it's entirely possible Warrior spin-off for Xenoblade. I don't deny that there's potential there, but the actual potential of that doing well in the market is probably not incredibly high. I feel like in most cases, spin-offs always sell less than their original game. So it is what it is. But I don't think a Xenoblade Warriors spin-off is in the cards.
So, what is planned from here?
Now, do I personally think we are going to get another follow-up of some kind to Xenoblade 3 in the form of a direct numbered sequel, Xenoblade 4? Not really. As much as I'd like a fully fleshed out post-Xenoblade 3 direct sequel, I do not think that's in the cards to happen. And my reasoning is pretty simple. The ending to Xenoblade Chronicles 3's DLC, Future Redeemed, felt like a true finale, at least for the trilogy. That credit sequence really is the icing on the cake, showcasing all three games and the worlds combining. It's a clear sign that we've at least reached the end of this trilogy. Does that mean it's impossible for them to continue forward with a new story in the same world? No. But I think it just feels like we are at the end of our time in this universe. It is up to the development leads and where they want to take the story next. I think it is entirely possible we get a direct Xenoblade 4, but I personally don't think it's that likely. I think Monolithsoft might move on to do something different next.
I guess words ain't getting through to him.
Odd. You've such a way with words.
And as far as X2 goes, I still haven't finished Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Despite picking up this game twice, I haven't had the time, and I'm not as into it as I was the other Xenoblade games. So I would have a rough time saying whether we could get it as X2. I'm sure someone could paint a better picture in the comments. Either way, I think there are multiple possibilities for Monolithsoft in the coming years. But all that being said, I do think we're jumping the gun just a little bit. Nintendo's a little unpredictable with releases. Sometimes they like to space things out. Sometimes the space in between two games of the same genre is very, very short. So it's kind of hard to say, but we already have Fire Emblem coming up this summer, probably. And that fills the JRPG void, at least for a few months. And with no Nintendo Direct in sight, it feels like anything for 2026 just won't be announced till June, which is a really weird release window leading out of the year because we know nothing for the second half of this year. Additionally, it only has been 4 years since Xenoblade 3, and while the turnover period between 2 and 3 was honestly pretty short, with it barely being under 5 years, keep in mind that this story was within the confines of an existing world. There are multiple elements that were already established and don't need to be made again from scratch. Also, I'm not 100% sure of this, but I am pretty sure they've said in an interview that the story or the general outline for 3 was already planned when they were making 2, so that lays out a whole area of planning that you just don't have to do. And it would make a lot of sense since 2 is where they decided to combine everything, even going so far as to go back and change some parts in Definitive Edition of Xenoblade so that they match up with 2. And whether that was the original plan for Xenoblade 1 or if that became the plan at 2, I'm not entirely sure. But my point is that all of that, like basically the first 2 parts of 3 were already written, and 3 is the finale, so to speak. A brand new game not following either an existing storyline and or an existing world would take a good deal longer. And thus, it leads me to believe that a new game from Monolithsoft could take at least another year down the line until its reveal and release in mid to late 2027 at the earliest. That said, it's possible for it to be earlier, but I feel like Nintendo will want to space things out just a little bit. If there are Switch 2 editions of Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3 on the way, it's possible that those could hold us over until a new game, which could be quite a buffer window if they choose to release those, I don't know, every 6 months. And you can let me know what you think Monolithsoft is working on in the comments down below. And if you have any other insights that I might have missed, you can leave those in the comments as well. I always like to read into the potential of what the company is working on in the future. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things JRPG, Monolithsoft, and Xenoblade related. As a note, for any of you still watching, if you want to know about the future of what I'm working on, again, we're in a pretty dry spell as far as things go. I am not the most skilled Fire Emblem player, so if I do any coverage for Fire Emblem, it is on a casual level. So if you're expecting in-depth, like, crazy discussion about the game, not the right person. Seek that in places where people are more knowledgeable. But I'm really not sure what we're gonna cover next. Right now, we're coming up, well, we're like 3 months away from the first anniversary of global or English Persona 5X. So I might cover something related to that in the future. It's really hard to say. The well is pretty dry. But anyways, thanks for watching.
I regret it has to go like this.
Okay. Check this out.